In this program, I'd like to touch some very important elements in interpretation, namely, importance of words or text in singing, and importance of music regardless to the words, and how do they work together. We all know how important words play in vocal music. To some coaches, words are always equally important regardless to the music singer interprets. Those types admire intellectual approach. The more intellectual work you do in the piece you work on, the better. Is that right? Or is it an urban legend? Why some coaches repeatedly tell us to mean every word we sing? And what kind of means I need to mean every word I sing? After one of her stunning performances of La Traviata, Maria Callas was approached by critics, assuming her success was due to her endless research on Traviata's character, asking her the same questions of how many books she read on the subject, and surprising answer was, no research. Verdi said everything. I haven't even read Dumas' original. Now, if it was coming from less talented and less intellectual person than Maria Callas, we would assume less trust. But coming from Callas herself, the diva, the genius one. Wait a bit. She was not talking about importance or not importance of the words, just some extra researches on the subject and importance of the music. I always think of music, of a soul and words as pointers, and yet music always dominating words, like in the aria Nel cor più non mi sento. The words are sad, and music is joyful. You decide which one is dominating in this aria. Let's change the music, Nel cor più non mi sento, melody, into, let's say, O cessate di piagarmi, which is a sad melody, putting the same words and see what happens. So you see, in this case, the words are more appropriate because the words are sad. Giovanni Paisiello decided to put a little humor, irony into this aria, and he used this little controversy, sad words and joyful music. But some coach is convinced that we should mean every word we sing by studying word-for-word translations or even the text we sing, and even be able to translate the words during the performance of a song or an aria. Wow. It reminds me of an experiment in my own conservatory, singing and mathematics. While singing an aria, you were randomly giving some mathematical equations, and you should be able to solve these mathematical equations during the singing. I was able to solve these mathematical equations because I had an engineer diploma and I was very good at math. But the moment I would start thinking, my singing was terrible at that moment of thinking. Ability to translate the words during the singing in the moment of singing is similar of doing mathematical equations during the singing. I can say though that I admire people who can do such things. But to say in regret, that has nothing to do with real interpretation or helping you to interpret the music. Let's speak to the most intellectual people on earth, philosophers. Great German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said about so-called intellectuals, they're trying to convert the truth through the means of words, and they're never successful. You see, great Schopenhauer makes a clear distinction between the meaning and the words. Words are actually not able to convey the meaning. And how can you explain that paradox? Why do we love foreign vocal music without understanding a single word from it? Do we love it because the singer means every word he sings, or because the meaning itself is carried out through emotions of the music? Most of the singers, if stopped in the middle of a song, cannot continue from that spot, like a school kid memorizing verses mechanically. To understand the role of words as imagery, I would give you this type of an example. Music is like a huge river hosting small ships that represent words. But wait, I'm not saying words are unimportant. They almost always play a secondary rather than primary role in music. Of course, in some styles like Lieder, words have more importance than in Italian styles, or in Italian aria, for example, Una furtiva lagrima, where words are just pointers. Why is that? When composer writes recitative, he uses music as a servant to words. Not to every style, Verdi recitatives do not follow that rule. And therefore words become equally, if not more important than music, like in Mozart recitatives. But in arias, words become a mere pointers. I repeat, a mere pointers. That so-called intellectual approach becomes the key to so-called standard coaching that kills the individuality of a singer. As a result, we have very well thought through, good for everyone, but boring interpreters, and their quantity approaching a critical mass. Why on earth did it happen? We tried to put a singer on the lowest level among musicians, telling him, "You have no idea about music, let me guide you." That was Toscanini and his time that killed an individual freedom for singers in opera, and by that he killed bel canto. I'd say, for me, Toscanini's approach to opera and singers was like Stalin's approach to any individualism in communist state. Sure, that his attitude was abandoned quite a long time ago, the remains of that attitude remain to nowadays. We simply know that conductor is not simply a boss of the whole production, but he is the boss of your own arias and even col cantos. Many conductors are using singers' musical ignorance to take what's left of the little freedom composers clearly put on a paper, like col canto. I'll give you an example. A young dramatic tenor, John Vickers, while working with a now famous conductor, tried to have more freedom than usually singers gets in this case, and was reprimanded by that conductor, saying traditional, "Follow me, sir." In that instance, John agreed and followed the maestro, but at the next phrase repeated his liberty. Maestro looked at him again and said something like that. "I think we agreed previously that you watch my baton and follow me." Vickers answered quietly, "Sure, maestro, but now you have to follow me, because composer wrote col canto." I think that conductor was hoping that Vickers was not a good musician and he did not know what col canto means. But he had to follow Vickers that time, because John was absolutely right. In a way, why should we blame only conductors, while most of the singers don't even bother knowing the score and therefore their freedoms? It is my conviction that opera art would stay the most popular among other vocal singing styles if the singers would take control of their interpretations by carefully studying opera traditions, scores, and the most important themselves, their own emotions, personally embodied in the particular arias they sing. Only that I can call interpretation. So-called standard coaching is a death to interpretation. There was Franco Tenelli. Until next time.